had him as Department 4.
How we doing?
Good.
Good, good. I don't know if you have any questions. Pretty same old, I guess. Obviously, I put a little bit in there for salaries, just depending on what the comm board does. You never really know, but what's in there is 4%, but I have no idea what. I think that meeting's the end of the month, so. But I obviously didn't do anything with health insurance. I'm not sure where that's going, but otherwise it's kind of standard.
It's not gonna mean 4%.
No, I mean, I put that in there just from that standpoint, just so it's over rather than,
Yeah.
but, last year I looked, I was 92.88% of my budget used last year, so, I don't have a lot of fluff built into mine. I don't have a lot, I mean, besides the salaries and IPERs and health insurance, it's very, very minimal, enough to keep my license and, office equipment and my computer case management software. Other than that, it's.
How long is your victim coordinator grant for?
Well, when I applied, it was a 3-year position, but it's year to year based on funding. So we are in the 2nd year now. I have no way to know if we'll get a 3rd year, but we're scheduled to. But I usually get notification of that a few months before. So,
How do you think that's working out?
pretty good. I think you could ask Allie in my office, and she appreciates not having to deal with that end of it. Rachel takes care of the getting people at trial, depositions, and getting them signed up through the crime victim program, and it's worked out good because Rachel still is able to keep her other part-time job. So she's got 2 part-time jobs right now. And she's usually here about 18 to 20 hours a week, depending on if we're in court or in depositions and stuff like that. So.
I don't have questions.
And I don't really know after the 3 years, Terry, if that's something that there'll be another grant out there. Or if it's,
What funding is that then?
well, it's through the Iowa Crime Victim Assistance Division. That's who encouraged me to apply for the grant. I think their funding is coming from the feds, I believe, but it's run. I do it through the Crime Victim Assistance Division found in Des Moines. So.
My guess is if it was a state funding, it would have been gone last year.
Yeah, I think so. They had some money that they encouraged counties, and there was quite a few counties that applied for it and were able to get this position. And after 3 years, I guess we'll see where it goes. It may go nowhere. But.
Looking forward, if those grants go away, what are your plans?
You mean with regards to the crime, with keeping her position? Well, I mean, it'd be nice, but I also understand the money side of it. And Rachel certainly understands that it's basically kind of a year-to-year deal. And so, we didn't use all the grant last year just because I don't need her to be here, much more than that. Kind of 20 hours. I mean, yeah, it's just not a full-time. We're not big enough to have a full-time one. Saragordo County is, but we're not. But yeah, if the grant's not there, it'd probably be hard to justify keeping the position, but, it's nice to have her.
So that when you said you only use 92.88% of your budget, that's part of where you're not using it all.
Well, I don't know. Does that get factored into? that, Carla?
Yeah, it's in
It
there.
might, cause,
In your expenditures, so.
yeah, I'm not even sure, let's see, last year.
So if we're paying,
We have a match on that,
so
25%.
she's actually making, or you're getting 60-some thousand for that job then?
No, I get 25 or 26,000.
25, and
Yep,
then it comes off of the number that's in.
correct, and then the county has to match 25%, so the total's a little over 30,000
Yeah.
when you
So the
include the match.
revenue goes into the, and then the whole amount comes out of the
Yeah,
expenses.
But I have to expend, meaning if we use 21,000 of the 25, I don't get the other 4. I only get what I submit expenditures for.
Yeah.
And last year, we didn't have the full amount of expenditures. And part of that was because she didn't start at the beginning of the fiscal year. We didn't get her in here and started until, I think it was about August, and the grant actually started in July. So a part of that was that, just a little bit of delay. But yeah, it's.
Other than that, I don't see anything outstanding.
Well, it's
Bill,
same old.
questions? Any more? No, it's pretty straightforward here. Thanks, Adam.
Alrighty. I said 10 minutes, pretty close.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you.
were here 5 minutes late, so it only took about 5 or 6.
Thanks, guys.
You come early? Okay.
Data processing.
What number are they?
Eric is 52, I believe.
it going? Is it as much fun as it looks? You got
Do you wanna go through
questions, or do you?
some of your changes, like, you know, there's some items that went up, and I see some items went down.
Sure.
Some items are kind of like a roller coaster.
Yeah. Well, let me just, do you want me to just start at the top and just go down?
If you've got a presentation, go ahead.
I don't have a PowerPoint or anything.
Okay.
I just brought documentation about
Would you rather just questions or?
It's up to you guys. But we can go by line item.
Sure.
Data processing supplies went from 6 to 10. Do you anticipate something, I mean, we're not real high in this year's, that's under the,
Oh, yeah.
5290.
That, I've been buying, kind of miscellaneous cables, and toner is probably the main expense in that category, and I feel like I finally have everybody buying the toner through my office for, you know, except for like the sheriff and whatever, and I finally, you know, I feel like that's a pretty solid number. Not that there's a planned increase in spending, but just between getting things coming out of the right account and getting a handle on the toner purchases and that kind of thing. I think I'm on track to go over on this year's budget on that line item.
We might have underestimated last year compared to what the 2 previous years were.
Yeah, because I think I budgeted 6,000 in the last 2 years, and I had, looks like almost 10,000 in 2016 and 8,000 in 2017.
And I see you're lowering your IT services.
Yeah, just a little. I guess, you know, something I do want to talk about is I have a couple of kind of major things coming up for in my department. One of those would be Microsoft Windows server operating system. We're running on the 2008 version of that right now, which is still, Microsoft has, there was the whole Windows XP ended and all, you know, all of that was in the news. So at a certain date, Microsoft says, okay, that's old and done. We're not going to support it anymore. If hackers figure out how to create all kinds of viruses for it, we don't care, because you're using software that's 10 years old. We're not going to support it. So all of our stuff is set up for the most part on server 2008, and that was done in 2013 in the fall after I started. And that was the current recommended version at that time. That is going to be discontinued from support January of 2020. And so between then and now, you know, as a responsible IT person, I need to make sure that all of our stuff is updated to a newer version. And there's a 2012, and there's a, it's Ron Cavalli trying to get a hold of me. And there's a 2016 is the latest one. It's going to be expensive. I figured out that basically to jump all the way to 2016 would cost us probably $34,000. But we can put that off for another. Well, we could put that off till 2023, which is going to give us some more time, because we can upgrade to 2012. When we did it in 2013, 2012 had just come out. I know this is all techno jumble, but it had just come out and it wasn't recommended yet, you know, for,
Until they got.
except for the people that really wanted to be cutting, you know, you're buying the first model of a new car, and there's always problems and things that get worked out. So the way it works is you can install an older version. You know, we bought 2012, but they put 2008 on because 2012 had literally just come out a couple of months prior, and they weren't recommending it yet. But we own the licensing at that level, so I can upgrade us to 2012 at no software licensing cost. And we can put that $34,000 off until, you know, 2021, 2022.
And that's reflected in, that's built into the 45,000 estimate, 45,882.
Well, so what the IT services is, it would be, you know, contractor support. And so there still needs to be a project done of touching all of our servers and upgrading them, which is going to be a huge amount of work. And so that would be, a portion of that money is going towards that project. I have everything from just some maintenance items to the website to this project to a little work with the phone system and also like our backup services. That's about so about $6,000 of that is just for backing our stuff up. I put it in that.
So this 34,000 you were talking about to go to 2000.
That would be on the software, and I did not budget it in there.
Okay, so it's not in there.
No. But that will be coming up. There is money, there's another piece of this called SQL Server that's a database software that all of our Tyler products run on. And that is also the 2008 version. That is going to be expiring sooner. That'll be July of 2019, which is coming, you know, you don't want to drive it till the wheels fall off when it's that. That would be probably the most critical server that we have. So I do have money in there. We're going to need to spend at least, Microsoft's licensing is so complicated. I have it roughed out, but I need to double check again with the vendor to make, you know, the vendor that works with it all the time to make sure that I'm on the right track. It's going to be at least $10,000 of licensing, and then to do that along with Active Directory, which is kind of the core brain of all of our servers, is going to be a $6,500 project to work with a vendor through, and that's the only way I would feel comfortable doing this. You know, it would be like doing a overhaul on an engine when it's the first time I've ever done one. You know, yourself, not that you can't learn how to do it, but you don't really want to learn how to do that when it's the Indy car that everybody's counting on. So I feel like that would be a wise investment. So that $6,500 is reflected on the IT services line. There's also our email server, the same thing with that, and we're running Exchange Server 2010. That will be end of life in 2020 as well, January. There's a couple of different options there, and I haven't had enough time to research them all yet. If we did I got a quote, it would be about, I believe, $3,000 to $4,000 worth of software expense, and then about $10,000 worth of doing the work to do the upgrade. That seems a little high to me on that one, and that would be to continue to have our own email server here on site, on premises, they call it. There are quite a few counties that are starting to move to the cloud, as they call it. Basically, the cloud is just any computer that is not here and it's somewhere else. I'm going to be investigating that further. That, you know, there's still expense involved, and that turns into a monthly recurring expense based on the number of users that you have, versus this is more of a a one-time flat fee, and that's going to get us through, X number of years until this software becomes outdated. So I don't have that analysis all figured out yet. There's still some time before January 2020. And I don't have enough money in here to do everything that we talked about needing to get done. But again, we can spread that out over 2 years. So all that being said, there's some software, this is the foundational operating system software. Like 2 years ago, we did the major update with the Tyler software, and that was built on this foundation of the server operating software. Now, we have 4 years on this, and it was the older version at that point when we put it on. So it's just time to, reshingle the house again or whatever. This is just a continual cycle of, 4 to 6 years, I would say, in the IT world. The other piece that we put in 4 years ago that is also nearing the end of its life is the storage device. It's called a NetApp, and that's where all of the data from all of the servers gets stored. It's basically a huge array of hard drives. There's like 24, 36 hard drives in this thing, and it's built for performance. It's done a good job. I haven't really had hardly any trouble with it. It's been very reliable, but it's starting to get full, and that is due to just data that everybody's working with, creating documents and scanning images and entering software in databases and all that kind of thing. It's due from that, and it's also due to the Windows updates and things like that come out on a regular basis. Every time you do a Windows update on your computer, your hard drive gets a little more full, and a little more full, and a little more full. And, we have dozens of computers that are all saving their information onto this device. And so I was talking to some of the other IT folks at counties, and a lot of things, depending on your budget and what you're trying to do, 3 to 5 years is where people plan to replace things. And so we're at the 4-year mark. As of October was when it was installed. 2013, 2015, 16, 17, yeah. So we've crossed 4 years, and I think it needs to be replaced for sure by the time we get to the 5-year mark. It's operating, my fun little graphs. There's about 26% of the space left, and I've had to start doing things like not keeping quite as many copies of our backup data to help free up space for everything else. And we're still covered, that's fine, but it's like instead of and I don't remember what the exact settings are, but let's say instead of 2 weeks worth of backups every day, I only have a week and a half, and that gave us an extension of another couple of months worth of, because it just continues to grow unless we're deleting things and using the computers less. It's always going to continue to grow.
Isn't data storage cheap?
It's a very broad question.
Even secure data?
Storing it?
Why can't you take that piece of paper that you just showed us?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you throw that on the cloud and free that up?
Well, so when you put things in the cloud, the way that we access that is with our internet connection, and WCTA has great service, but there's a performance hit, meaning reduced performance. And so if Carla's doing a budget report that takes like 3 minutes to run or something like that right now, if we were trying to do that over the cloud with a reasonably priced internet connection, it would probably take more like half an hour or something like that.
So you're talking convenience only?
Well,
I mean,
convenience, I wouldn't say convenience, I would say workplace efficiency. If it takes everyone 3 to 10 times longer to do their work, they're gonna need
well,
more.
how much, what's the percentage of this data that is stored has to be retrieved every day? It's more for archives, isn't it, or am I wrong on that?
No, well, it's, it's a very broad topic, and I would be glad to, investigate that. I haven't looked at putting our core, I would say this is our core infrastructure, this is what we do and use on a day-to-day basis. Like Chris.
Okay, let me ask it this way. Can't you put the stuff that's maybe only used once a month on the cloud to free up the space that we do need on that?
The question is, how do you know what you're going to need in a given month to have it here versus there? And there's really not a system that does that. Let's
I
say.
have to think that the department heads that we have right now are savvy enough to know what they're gonna need.
Well, like Chris's office, for example, she has not that she's the largest user necessarily, but she has a lot of images of scanned books and things that are in there. And I don't know how she's supposed to anticipate what customer's going to walk in and request which image of which book on which property from which date.
Okay, so the recorder's office, can't you figure that out by what the percentage is used by different offices? So the recorder uses up 30% of the, what's that called that you got on the paper right there?
Storage.
Storage, right.
We'll just call it storage.
Called storage. So she uses up 30%, the treasurer only uses up, she has to recall maybe only 5%. So,
Well,
it's getting down to this. What it's getting down to is that I know that, well, I was with the Lake Mills Lumber Company for 20 years. So we didn't have all the bells and whistles. In fact, they still don't have computer-generated billing and like that to speak of, point of sale. So, yeah, it'd be nice to have, but what can we reasonably, because that's the way the statute says, reasonably get by with?
I guess I'm going to try to relate it to your truck that's hauling a load of whatever that is really important. And if you have a 10-ton load and you only have a 5-ton truck, or you have a 5-ton truck with a 4-ton load, but people keep throwing on more and more and more stuff, eventually your truck isn't going to be able to haul that anymore.
And that's what I'm saying.
But it all needs to get to where you're going.
Right, so you put the 3 tons in storage and make the trip and come back and get it again. And that's what I'm getting at is there a way of prioritizing which office needs what? I'm just asking questions here. I'm not telling you what to do, obviously. But it seems to me that I'll put it this way. There's a lot of things I want at home, but they're not needs. So I put them off.
This is not one of them.
Okay.
If this thing fills up, literally everybody's software and computers will stop working. And they've said, it's 26% full. If it hits 10% or less, it's going to dramatically start slowing down because it's at its capacity and it's scrambling.
So just for my information, so what you're advocating is just get machine is double capacity, so that information stays on there, but
Yes, and I would be glad to take a look at what we can do with the cloud as far as, there's a term for it. Let's say cold storage, this is hot storage, it's right here, it's ready to go, bam, it's high performance, it's expensive. I haven't even told you a price. I don't even want to after that, but the cold storage is a lot cheaper, but it's a lot slower. And the trade-off for that, is the speed, and also the availability and the security somewhat, depending on who you're working with. We're definitely a target here in Winnebago County, being that we're a government entity, and as far as bad guys and hackers and things like that, they like to go after us because they know we have money, even though we don't have much money as bigger counties or the state or whatever. We still have a lot of money, and that's what they want usually. If we put our stuff, like let's say in Amazon or in Microsoft, they have clouds, then now we're a target, but Amazon's a really big target, and they're always trying to break in there all the time, and that's kind of it's hands off. Not that I could ever do a better job securing Amazon stuff than they do, but it's kind of one of those things. And when you see on the news, like say Equifax has a data breach, if Amazon has a data breach, that means everybody's stuff potentially got compromised. And so there's a lot more bad guys after them. There's a lot more scrutiny on it. It's kind of this give and take. I'm not opposed to it, but it's a change, and that would, if I mentioned the email server, we could move that to the cloud, and that would free up some space here, not huge amounts of it. We're talking about 7 terabytes of data, which is a lot, but it's not a huge amount, and the email server probably takes up like half a terabyte or less. So, that'd buy us another, let's say, 4 to 6 months.
Self-admittedly, I know just enough about computers to make my questions dangerous and stupid at the same time, so keep that in mind.
Sure.
Okay, I better ask it this way. Can you upgrade the individual's computer for more storage instead of, or is that not the way?
Well, see, and the individual computers do need to be upgraded as well by 2020, because Windows 7, which is what, for the most part, everybody here is running, and if you have an older computer, that's what you're running at home too, that is also going end of life in 2020. I'm not even addressing that solidly in this budget cycle, depending on how that goes. But
I guess
it's the important documents on the user's computers, those documents that they're working with on a day-to-day basis and that they keep generating more and more of, those get backed up to this device. So even if we get them bigger computers, they can fill it up with more stuff, and that fills the server up with more stuff, the storage up with more stuff.
Well, and I'm sorry for the short course it is that you're gonna have to sit through for me, but if it's backed up, it's still on their computer, right? It's just a backup.
It's in both places.
Computers, right?
I had a computer crash, and I have most of my documents out on the drive that we all kind of share. And there was a couple of documents that I had just on my desktop, and I lost those. So
the question is then, why is it so important for that backup to be speedy?
Because
if you lose some information, you need to go to that backup, correct? You're not
well, no, I mean,
off for daily use.
think of how to explain this. You know, we have one bucket of storage right now, and this is this NetApp thing.
What do you call it?
It's a NetApp is the brand.
Okay.
There's another one that I've been shopping around called T-Gile. And, you know, some of that backup stuff, you're right, wouldn't necessarily have to go in that bucket, but it has to go somewhere. And it's easier to carry one bucket and maintain one bucket than 2 or 3 buckets and have some stuff here and some stuff over there and some stuff over there and try to manage that. For the IT people to, I mean, and by easy, I mean time and resources. You know, it's simpler.
Yeah.
You know, we could get a different device to back up the computers, but then now there's 2 devices that if there's some kind of security issue, I have to go, okay, we have to work on this one, and then we have to work on that one, and this one could have a problem, and that one could have a problem, and, you know, they will eventually both fill up, and then we have to replace 2 of them. You know, maybe this one's cheaper, but I guess as the IT director, doing it this way, I see value in doing it this way, and I do have interest in looking into the cloud things that you are talking about. Like I said, with the email server, that is an option, and I'll be doing a cost comparison on that. It will cost money one way or the other. It's whether it's, like I said, an upfront cost or monthly fees that we pay forever. And then the downside to that is if it's in the cloud and we lose internet, we can't get it at all. It's not here.
What's the odds of that? I mean.
Well, I mean, it happens.
Tornado, snowstorm, maybe, well, probably a snowstorm, but, you know, I mean.
I don't think there was any kind of a weather event that happened the last time we had an outage, which was a long time ago. WCTA has done a wonderful job, and I have been very happy with their service. But that's not to say that, you know, the city is replacing the street, and they cut the cable, and we're down for a day or 2, or who knows. You know, it's.
But why should we base our huge purchases on contingencies when, well, let's put it this way, what do you think that would cost us? If we're down per day, what's that gonna cost us?
Well, what's everybody's salary times a day?
That isn't necessarily, what's it gonna cost to the people that want our services? Let's put it that way. Because our labor is labor, doesn't matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
But if they can't work on their computers for a day, they can keep collecting payments, but then they're still gonna have to do.
And that's my question, so what do you think the cost is to the average person that wants to use the service here at the courthouse, if we're down for a day?
If a guy walks in and wants to pay his $10,000 worth of taxes, I mean, and he can't do it, then.
So he's gotta come back tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I can't answer that question.
No,
I don't know how to put a value on that.
It's an inconvenience, it's really not, it's like having a snow day. You're, the same work has to get done later anyway.
Yeah.
So it's.
So I guess the question is, if we have an outage like that, are we just gonna send everybody home and have a snow day, or what? I mean, there's things that you do in anything, processes that you follow, is procedures and equipment that you put in place to make sure that if and when there is a problem, you know, it's less impactful. And, you know, having things on site, you know, is gonna prevent that kind of a problem. You know, not that we couldn't do it off site, you know, we could move everything off site if we wanted to. There's still gonna be a cost, and it's gonna be a much greater cost than just doing some things. And then if we do have an event like an internet outage, then that becomes a catastrophic outage immediately because nobody can do anything because that's down.
Why not? It's on their computers. You said you're just using this for backup. So.
Well, the backup is, let's say the backup is maybe 1/6 of that pie, and the rest of it is the server data itself that people, that people are generating and using the databases, the scanned documents, the, everything from Adam's judicial dialogue software that he uses for case management to, to recorder. Every office, other than like WHW, because they're kind of on their own thing, uses that server. Even the engineers, the secondary road shop in Thompson gets their stuff stored and backed up, and they access software that's on that server. They have a maintenance management, vehicle management software that keeps track of when they've changed the oil and what spare parts they have on hand and all of that. And they use that throughout the day and week as they're maintaining vehicles and that kind of thing. And that's stored here. I have Robert's office is even storing some of their stuff on this. So of the whole thing, it's probably the most, this is the golden nugget, and there's nothing that's as important as this piece, because if it blows up, fills up, and stops working, everything is going to stop working.
So, just so that I am correct on what I'm thinking too, like Eden, does that run on this?
Yeah. I mean, just another little piece to help have a better understanding. In the in the older days, you would buy a server, and it's this box, and this server runs Eden, the financial software, and you would buy another server, and this server runs the budget software, or the health care software, or whatever the judicial software that Adam uses. And each box has its own processor, its own storage, its own memory, the RAM, and each one is this separate box. And you'd have a room with a rack or two of all these boxes. Over the last, let's say, 8 years or 8 to 10 years, they've developed this technology called virtualization, which is basically like an apartment building. You buy one big box, one big apartment building, and then inside of there you can have all of these little virtual servers, and so that big box gets portioned down into all of this so that they can use the resources that they need, and the other resources that are available in that apartment complex can be used by other processes and things like that. So all of those things are connected to this storage box. It used to be, let's say Eden was starting to fill up, we could put some more storage in that one or buy a new box for that one and all these other ones. But the thing is, these individual boxes are much more expensive than, we have 3 boxes, so to speak. We have three physical servers that are running about 30 virtual servers and about another 30 virtual desktops, which is what like the public health department uses. So when I say this is the golden nugget and kind of the core and most important thing of everything, that's what I mean. All of this data from all of this stuff gets stored here, and it's filling up, and it's anticipated in the industry that these things fill up. To have gotten 5 years out of it is good, considering they were using it as that golden nugget for everything here, which is not it's a recommended use of it, but because it's such a critical piece, they are going to be getting very nervous about the people that sell and support these things are going to be getting very nervous about continuing to push that as far as it will go. If that truck that's hauling that load is the only truck that you have, and you don't want to run it until the wheels fall off and then start the process of buying a new one, you want to hopefully probably trade it out before the wheels fall off and before you're down for, if it just blew up and stopped working or filled up we would be down for probably a couple of days, and I would not be sleeping for that amount of time either.
Can we go back to my original question?
Sure.
So I'm looking at several line items, and you started talking about this storage thing. What line item would that be under? Is that under equipment? Is that under?
It's under a combination, so it would be under, equipment.
And the agreement, because you have to have an agreement attached to it, or?
And, let's see. Yeah, and I did not have the quotes back from the vendors when I budgeted this, so it's actually a little under at this point, but.
But where would it be on the line item?
So, so there's about 35,000 under the equipment line item. And then there's under the IT services, there's about 6,000 for the setup and migration to it. And it's all lumped together on your sheets. You're not going to just see it. And then there's a 3 years of maintenance for about 10,000 under the hardware maintenance, which would be the, does it show that on there, 42,102?
Well, it's under hardware.
Yeah, I've been trying to separate that out a little bit more. Now, wait a minute.
Where do you see that, Terry?
Right there. Hardware maintenance.
42 what?
42,102
I think
is the number over on the left.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What do you guys show in that line?
I show 23,600.
Oh, good. Okay, I was looking at my wrong. Yeah, that's right. I was looking at the wrong column in my spreadsheet. Starting to have a panic
So
attack.
what all do you have in the maintenance agreements, software maintenance agreements, that makes it 120,000?
So the software maintenance agreements covers these main software packages that I've mentioned.
And that's a given right now. We're not increasing anything.
Let's see. No, pretty much everything in there is a set rate.
Because it was 91,000 and it was 80,000 of actuals. Now we're asking for 120.
I think I moved an item between columns. So there's the 42,900 Consultants Pro Map for 16,000, and that's part of.
So you have that moved up to.
I moved it into the software maintenance agreement.
From where?
It was down here in mapping and GIS
I think we'd like that
last year.
separate, Eric.
Okay.
Might go back to general miscellaneous.
No, well, I don't care if it goes there, but I think it should have its own line item, just because it's such a specialized.
We were looking for it earlier when Sue was
Yeah.
in.
Okay.
It should stay on
So-
mine.
Yeah. So the Beacon. So I've been paying for the last year for Sue's Beacon website, which is
The county's portion, right?
I
They have
think it's-
10,000 that they put aside, and then we have the other 16 or whatever it is. It's a cost share between the assessor's budget and ours.
Maybe this year it'd be 14,907.
I pay $2,025 once a quarter. And that says Beacon website hosting. And I don't know fully what that is,
Said that
but
how much? 2,000?
2,000,
8,100 a year.
yeah, 8,100. And then
That's just a hosting, but we were talking earlier about the fly.
that's completely separate, the flight.
Isn't that the GIS mapping systems?
Well,
Your line item 42,900,
consultants and
and it got
program.
dropped this year.
That, I believe, is So there's 9, 6. So then there's the Vanguard software that Sue uses, and there's a Schneider annual software maintenance. So Snyder has some other piece. I don't know. I know I sat down with Sue, and I guess if we need to,
You pay that or does Sue?
I have it in my budget, and I believe she has given it to me last year, or at least wanted me to pay it.
So I think that should be out of the assessor's budget, because the assessor has their own fund, and it's a non-budgetary fund. And the stuff that she uses in her office should come out of her budget.
Well, I quickly perused through the secondary roads, and I don't see any maintenance or any software agreements.
It's in my
It's all
budget.
through this now.
Yeah.
Okay,
But he tracks it per department
Yeah,
internally.
and that's fine, but for allocation for the budgets,
Should they each have?
do you understand a little bit why, there's probably more questions than needed, the way the bookkeeping is here?
I haven't heard any questions that I don't think were needed. Or what do you, I mean, what, in my meeting, or I'm
No,
not sure what you're getting at?
And I guess much to my dismay or whatever, when did we switch over from the secondary roads actually paying it out of their budgets on these budget sheets for their software agreements and that, to switch it over to you?
When I was hired.
No, I know we didn't do that, because I argued that. I've been asking for a spreadsheet from you since you've come on, so we could find out where our savings had come from, where they were, and what we saved, and I still haven't got that. And so I know for a fact they didn't start right away.
But that can come from an internal document in his department.
Well, that doesn't do us any good, you know,
What
as far as tracking it.
What I thought was supposed to be happening was the main software, the stuff that everybody uses, is paid out of IT.
Right,
If I just have software that I use in my office, that's supposed to be coming out of my budget.
and I don't see that in these budgets. There's nothing for software agreements, nothing for IT, and the auditor, the engineer, the attorney, there's nothing for that. And
That's,
so I'm kind of.
that was what I
flying
was
blind here.
understood to be. I mean, if you want to see this, I have it broken down by department right here. Every
Print that
year.
out.
I haven't printed it. I don't know if it'll print very well on the spot here, because it might be too long.
I don't need it today, I just,
Well, I'd be glad to share this, and I've done it this way for the past 2 or 3 years. It has been my understanding since I was hired that the computer expenses were gonna come out of my budget in general.
for every office.
Yes.
And so I don't see anything under sheriff's, but I know for a fact, do you write the check, and you take care of the bills for next gen?
Not for the sheriff anymore.
No, but I didn't see it, I went to the sheriff's real quick, and I don't see anything for IT in the sheriff's.
That would be up to them. I didn't budget anything for them either.
So that threw up a red flag for me. And maybe I missed it, so let's just quickly look for it.
It was a large dollar item.
But it should be, or I mean, that was my understanding, it was gonna be what per month? 10 something?
No, not 10.
10?
Here, this is,
The sheriff shouldn't pay for their own IT though, because they're not using Eric.
Right, but I didn't see any of it.
that is the
Every
large.
software maintenance agreement, it's all zero.
161 at one time, but
I got software maintenance agreements that got dropped here on page 17.
IT services, page 18 is zeroed out, so I mean, I don't see anything for sure.
Well, they should have money in there, and I was not consulted on that. I don't have any money budgeted for anything in
Well,
there.
here he's got it.
Department,
under,
other than
on
the
page-
phone system.
On page 18, he's got software maintenance agreements at 4,000. Find the IT, there's IT services that got dropped.
I mean, this is their monthly bill.
What is it?
For the sheriff's department, they're paying $1,161 a month, and for the communications department, they're paying $29.65 a month.
That's 4,000 a month, so that's 50 grand a year.
But that's two different departments.
Right. Okay, so what, 911 or communications?
Communications. I mean,
I didn't
and
see
some
it.
of that is labor, support types things and other.
It doesn't matter what it's for, if it's not in our worksheets, we're screwed. So,
But at $1,100 a month, he should be paying.
Plus 29.
13, no, that's
okay.
13,000.
And communications has 33,000 budgeted for IT services.
What page were you looking at here?
62 for communications.
Oh, communications, yeah. You didn't find it in the sheriff, did you?
The sheriff doesn't have anything budgeted for IT, which he should.
They have a lot of IT.
Mhm.
I mean, unless they put it in a different line item.
Okay, so that matches up with the 29, roughly the $2,900 a month bill. Okay,
And they're 15,000.
and then 911 was how much? 1,100?
No, that, it's just the sheriff and communications.
Oh, sheriff.
I don't think there's a separate one for 911 that I'm aware of. I haven't seen that anyway. And like I said, some of that number is like a software maintenance agreement. Some of it is the IT services. Some of it, yeah, I would split it myself. If I was paying this, I would split it between those two categories.
Okay. That's all I got for questions.
Well, I got all the questions answered. So this mapping GIS system, you did not include the 16,000. We have yet to discuss. I'm sure that's the photometry flyover.
Okay.
We pay so much a year towards a 3-year flyover.
Okay, and I'm not paying for any airplanes.
Well,
Out of my budget.
here's the bill I'm talking about. If you look
Yeah.
down there, it's 15,900 something per year.
This 15.3 for a
Look at
license.
the bottom.
License payment, 1583, Carla County
Share of it.
gave Carla copies, miscellaneous.
And I think that's what the mapping GIS number for 16,000 is.
Okay,
And we haven't decided if how we're gonna handle that yet,
okay.
but you'll.
Is this Schneider? No. I don't have anything in here that says pictometry on it.
Okay, so,
I think the pictometry should come out of the 54.
I do too.
For that mapping GIS.
okay, but has it, where is it coming out?
Well, it was coming out of a different line item that Chris deleted. Because we've been trying to correct the line items so that they coincide with the
So
start
the
count.
16,000 he had in his budget for this year,
That's for Beacon,
Beacon.
Well,
which is different than
Beacon,
the pictometry.
Beacon, ArcGIS, Vanguard, and Schneider. And those are all different softwares that, and all of those are used for the assessor's office. I have $24,000 budgeted for
And like I
software
said, since the
expenses.
assessor is a different taxing entity, I believe that that should be out of her budget.
Absolutely.
And whatever you guys want to do, I didn't ask for it to be that way, other than it was my understanding that I was to pay for the computer expenses.
Just, it makes no difference where this comes out of. I just want to make it remedial so a guy like me can understand where it's going, where the money's coming from, where it's going.
Yeah,
You know,
no, it totally makes sense. Well, and we also want to make sure that we're not double budgeting for something.
Right.
your data processing software under line item 64,600, that jumped up this year. What was gonna come out of that one?
That would be that server licensing that I talked about. So 10,000 plus for the SQL database server. And I've also been, let's see, yeah, excuse me. Look at my notes here, I'm just trying to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. Yeah, I didn't have all of these numbers in stone when I submitted this, so that could either be more or less. We could probably cut about 10,000, 8,000 off of that, being that I'm going to wait on the, when I found out how expensive it was to upgrade the Windows server licensing, that $34,000 number, I was like, because I kind of guessed, and I guessed 20,000, and really it was more like 40,000. So putting that off, we can actually cut that, I would say, by 8,000, somewhere in that ballpark. And then I'll have to, make sure that I have it would probably be more like, so if it's like 20,000 this year, it would probably be more like 35 to 40,000 next year for the other. Well, no, because this is 2023. Sorry, I have too many dates. So that we can put off for a couple of years. So
all the other ones you feel like are pretty solid. It's hard to cut anything out of them.
I mean, other than that question of the assessor's stuff, there's really.
And how much is all that again?
I have, like, I put a line in my spreadsheet for every department, and I have $24,000 on the assessor's line item right now. And I have a description of what that is. The biggest single item in there is going to be the the Tyler, the property tax management software. That's almost $40,000 a year. But that's obviously probably the most important piece of software that we use as well. And the code, the laws are always changing, and so we're kind of stuck unless we're going to go back to paper and pens.
But that's used by several departments.
Yeah, treasurer, auditor, I think the recorder uses it once in a while, Becky uses it once in a while, and the assessor. I threw that all in the treasurer's line in my spreadsheet since it doesn't really matter. And then I have the Eden software, which is about $16,000, and that's primarily used, well, Julie uses it too, doesn't she? So, but again, that's doing payroll, keeping track of the budgets, right? And
Claims.
yeah, so critical piece. Yeah, so that's about it. Since you've voiced a lot of interest in it, I will be looking into the cloud more. It makes me a little nervous, to be honest, but I know it can work very well done right as well. There's just it's just, it's not necessary. There's pros and cons, and it's different. So if you're going to do it, you just have to make sure that you understand what you're doing, because that's how some of these data breaches that you hear about in the news, or that at least I hear about,
Yeah.
happen.
And I don't, this isn't a flippant comment, but that's why we have insurance too.
I would, on that note, I would like to look into what our cyber insurance is, because if we have a data breach, that's going to be different than if the courthouse burns down. So
I'm pretty sure if we got sued, we would be covered. Now, maybe that's probably something, you're right.
Well,
We need to definitely check on it.
getting sued, but there's also certain legal requirements that if, let's say hackers just totally break in and steal every piece of data that we have, that includes, social security numbers, health information for everybody. There's legal obligations that we have at certain points in the HIPAA laws and the high-tech laws that say if your data was stolen, we are obligated to send you a letter and tell you that, or, something in there. I don't know. I don't have that stuff memorized, but that's going to cost a lot of money, let alone fixing the damage to the server, making sure again that it's secure and that kind of thing. So a data breach is very expensive and very different than getting sued.
Exactly, but I would assume, but you know what happens when you assume, so that's something that definitely has to be checked, if we're covered or not, right?
Yeah.
But if we have done everything to our knowledge, and I guess that doesn't necessarily cover it all the time either, to do the things the right way, I'd have to assume we're covered, so. But let's put it this way, that can't be a fear of ours to try to explore this option. That'd be a better way of saying it, I think.
Yeah. Like I said, it just, to some extent, we just have to be aware of it, and it's a different bucket.
Right.
And so it's another thing to manage and make sure that it's secure, and it, because it has to be managed separately, because it is separate. So, and a lot of the breaches have happened because somebody set something up the wrong way, they didn't secure it the right way, and maybe all their stuff here in the building was fine and super secure, but then they had a wrong checkbox on that thing and it left it wide open. They didn't need a password to get into the critical data. It can be as simple as that. So it needs to be done right and carefully if and when it's done.
But here again, we can't let that fear, because it would be no different than a guy having his right turn signal on, he takes the left, he screwed up, so I mean, that's why we have insurance, so I mean, let's not let that hinder us from.
Let's make sure we have some really good insurance. I honestly do want to look into that, and I will be bringing to one of the meetings here in the next month a agreement to participate in a cybersecurity information sharing organization where basically it's tied in with Homeland Security and that kind of thing, but they get information about bad guys and what's going on, and they can pass it on to counties and other people that they work with. And then we share any information with them about attacks and whatever. And in the event that there is a data breach, they do actually offer support where people can come or online assist us with that recovery. And these days people say it's not if you have a data breach, it's when. So I'll be presenting that at some point because it's an agreement that needs to be signed.
So it's not a matter of when you're gonna screw, or if you're gonna screw up, it's when you're gonna screw up.
Well, we've all probably forgot to turn our turn signal on at some point.
That's exactly right, that's what,
Well, we're supposed to have Tim Missile, I think, here next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow.
Okay. Who does the ICAP? Is that
Tim
separate?
Missile.
That's Tim, okay. So, yeah, I'll make sure I'm here for that.
I just want to make sure if we're going to discuss another part of our insurance, we need to make sure it's broadly enough that.
Yeah, I could even give him a call this
I think it'd
afternoon.
be good for you to talk to him ahead of time so he can have some good answers for us.
Tell us what packages are available or whatever, different levels.
He's talked about this before with us, and he has said that we are fine, that we have an umbrella
Okay.
coverage that takes care of this kind of thing.
Okay.
So, but please feel free to call him and talk to him yourself.
Yeah, I don't
He might have some different
think
questions.
I've had that information at least directly given to me. I've seen the policy, you know, and it maybe has a line item or two, but it doesn't say a whole lot to me. But yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure we have something. I don't know how good it is or not. We've never had to use it. Let's hope we never have to.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it.
Any other questions? That's it. Or go ahead.
No, I don't.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Sheet like this, I gave you. So, Jenny, questions on that?
Techno babble for you for a while.
Yeah.
This one.
Yes.
So I just want you to understand that I have 4 sheets there. There's the general basic is the first one, general supplementals. After that, rural basic, and rural supplemental. And basically, it's the first column is the departments, the numbers for the departments. The second column is the revenue requests that people told me their revenues were going to be this year. And then the last column is the expenditures request from everybody this year. And then that last number is the deficit. So we're gonna have to figure out how to cut that.
Biggest increase is in the sheriff's department. Right?
And then there's a spreadsheet from 18 too, that one that was horizontal. That's from 18, so if you wanna compare back and forth, you can, but